Your data set as a business is the foundation of your company's ability to unlock growth. If you do have cracks in that foundation, what is it? Like, what's inside, and how do I rectify that?
Hi, welcome back to Dear Transcend. I'm your host, Cameron Ivey, and today we're tackling one of the messiest, most urgent problems in business. It's not just shadow AI, it's that the tools you already pay for are pushing new AI features, and most leaders are flying blind. So who owns this? Is this a security problem, a privacy problem? Our guest today is Transcend's head of sales engineering, Jess Dandorph. Jess's job is to design the strategies that solve this, and she has a unique pulse on what's really happening in the market today. In fact, she just got back from a few different AI governance conferences to spill some details for us. So, Jess, welcome to the show. It's awesome to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Cameron.
Absolutely. How's everything going for you right now?
Doing well. I'm in Brooklyn where we are transitioning into fall. So, on a personal standpoint, things are going great. And at work, it's Q4. So, we're very busy.
Yeah, it's a crazy time. AI everywhere. AI is the thing.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's dive right in. So you mentioned Shadow IT earlier, and you were recently at the IAPP AI conference. A lot of acronyms there. Were some of the main topics on people's minds there? What stood out to you?
What really stood out to me was this topic of transparency.
Mm,
And some of the conversation was fueled by the EU AI Act, and some of the details around that and the transparency that that will introduce ultimately. But what people were talking about is it was both internal as well as external. So internally, it's this theme of what systems are my teams using, but also
right.
what kind of data is within those systems or within my databases. And, this topic will vary depending on if you're training your own models or if you're fine tuning a larger LLM. But you really want to know what's inside of your databases. And then externally, most companies right now are building on top of other models. And so they're looking for transparency from those organizations,
Yeah.
or just any of their vendors. What features do you offer? What LLMs are you built on top of? So transparency was definitely the pull through just across different angles.
Is there any advice or anything that leaders should know just in general? Everybody's dealing with AI. Just from that conference alone, is there anything that you saw that maybe could be valuable here?
Yeah, I think, transparency has always been important. And so sometimes it's hard to break through the noise and understand what's changed. Like, why is it more
Yeah.
important than ever? And it's really just that the answer to this question of what am I using is changing almost every day, right? So,
Yeah.
what I'm taking away is that we all need some way, some dynamic tool or system or process to be able to stay on top of this in a dynamic manner, hopefully an automated manner so that you're not chasing your teams and you're not asking humans questions of what are we using, what are we doing. So I think that's really important. And then also, I think something leaders need to know is that a lot of leaders are still in the first stage of hypothesis and question asking and thinking through the potential, and they don't have all the answers right now, and you're not alone.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing too, you mentioned it earlier about data. And now that a lot of companies in the last few years, they've been in that experimentation phase with AI, it's starting to turn in terms of how important is having clean data when using AI tools going forward. I feel like it's one of the most important things for most companies. But yeah, that's just my thoughts there. What do you think about that?
I think where we've been heading and what AI is only accelerated is that your data set as a business, very simplified noun for that, but is the foundation of your entire tech stack or your company's ability to unlock growth or unlock efficiency. And so if you do have cracks in that foundation, it's going to proliferate through these different
Right.
things that are going to ultimately grow your business. So we are definitely seeing the importance there and really focusing on not only like is it clean, but what is it? Like what's inside and what can I do if I find something in there that I did not expect? How do I rectify that?
Yeah, that's such an important point. So, real quickly before we move on, the AIPP AIGG conference, what was the general consensus around shadow AI there?
The general consensus is that it is happening in the industry and business leaders really feel like they don't have a hold on what um, shadow IT in general, but also shadow AI now as a part of that, that they don't really have the transparency that they need to move quickly and be nimble. So, what I'm seeing is really just a growing emphasis on keeping this source of truth that we mentioned earlier of your business systems to keep the pulse check on what technologies are being used, where are they being used, for what. And as I mentioned, this is important. It's always been important, but it's even more important now because the answer is changing all the time.
Just as someone in a leadership position like yourself, how do you approach AI and what's your point of view on implementing AI within a team and organization?
We've been thinking about that a lot at Transcend. And the way that we sort of break it out into different levels is really across experimentation and trying new tools. And then when we're ready, how do we actually put it into production? So when I think about something like visibility, as an example, when it comes to experimentation, seeing what's out there, seeing what works and what's actually worth our time. We want that bar to be very low for our teams. We want our teams to have the freedom to go out there and try new things. And so once they bring something back that their testing has shown, hey, this actually can add a ton of value to our processes, that's when we're going to look at it and say, all right, let's run it through our procurement process. Let's make sure we know exactly what it does, how it should be used, how our teams can get value from it. Um, and when we think about visibility, I think a hot topic right now is kind of shadow IT, and a lot of businesses are thinking about what they're missing or what they don't know about. But I think the positive side of visibility is that if you have a really great visibility framework, you can actually ensure that you're maximizing exposure within your business. Like, hey, everyone, we have this awesome tool. It can do these awesome things and it can help you solve your challenges.
Yeah, that's a good point. And to add on to that, is there one thing that kind of stood out to you as like a challenge that you didn't see coming when thinking about implementing AI?
Yeah, I think the new nuance when bringing AI into the business is really around the fact that it can be somewhat autonomous,
Yeah,
right? So let's think back 2 or 3 years ago, we still cared about what systems we were using, and we still have this list of vendors. But now we need to think about that extra layer of are these vendors making decisions and are they automating processes within our business? And that's just an extra layer that we want to make sure we have visibility on so
hmm
that then we can add the additional guardrails to know, okay, what decisions is it making? How do we QA that? And how do we stay on top of it?
So going back to the last thing you said, visibility. How do you think about the importance of AI visibility across your team?
I do think it is important within our company. There's the team level visibility, there's company level, there is organization level. And I do believe that we want any team at any time to be able to understand, hey, what tools are in my toolbox? What
Right.
AI features do I have at my fingertips to embark on my next task? So when I think of visibility, that's what comes up for me is really making sure that everyone knows and has a sense of what's available.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. So, do you think there are any differences between how privacy and cybersecurity leaders are viewing this issue of transparency that you mentioned before?
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that at AIGG as well. I believe for security teams, it's really around visibility and control. They want to know, what's out there, what systems are people using, where's the data flowing, but really where is their risk being introduced?
Mm,
And where am I having new vulnerabilities introduced into my system? And then from the privacy perspective, it's a little bit of a different angle, but it's more about accountability and trust.
yeah.
So, how is my data being used? Does this align with what people have consented to? And am I ready to explain these decisions to a regulator or to our consumers at the end of the day? And so they really just want answers around, what are we doing? And when these two things converge, that's when a business feels, the pain of not having an AI governance practice yet. And they're like, oh, wait, we need to spin this up. We're not sure where it goes, but we know that we need it.
And is that something your team is running up against or hearing things like implementing or dealing with AI? How are you actually seeing it successfully implemented?
In terms of in practice in the field, what we're hearing and working on is number one, it's clear that companies have clear problem statements that they want to address with AI governance. So they've spent time thinking about that and really pulling that apart so they know why they want to create AI governance. But in terms of execution, I think we're really very much in the early stages and we're still thinking through how to progress there. And as I mentioned, one of the first areas that we see leaders focusing is on where do I build this into my organization? Is it within privacy? Is it within security? But no matter where it ends up living, what we know is that visibility and transparency is going to be the foundation of that practice.
Would that be your outlook for 2026 and beyond, or what would you kind of leave as your last words for those listening? Maybe your trends that you think are going to happen, or some of the things that you think everybody should be focusing on.
Yeah, in terms of short term, early 2026, it really does feel that bolstering that internal source of truth, creating that transparency is going to be a top priority for many, many businesses.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's really around how do I automate governance throughout my systems and throughout my tech stack to ensure that, it's not bogging my teams down. They're not chasing different teams or people to ensure that we are enforcing that. And so I think automation is also going to be a big theme of 2026 AI governance automation.
Awesome. Well, Jess, thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Great. Thank you, Cameron.